So now, 611. So 611, it says here, Jigten Sumgon maintains that the conduct that is free from adopting and rejecting is discipline. The conduct that is free from adopting and rejecting is discipline. So this expression, free from adopting and rejecting, you find very commonly, especially in like Vajrayana material or in Mahamudra, Mahaati, Dzogchen, Chakchen. You often come across this expression, conduct that is free from adopting and rejecting. This expression, conduct that is free from adopting and rejecting, from a certain perspective, is a rather radical perspective, if not wrong expression. So first you have to appreciate this, First you have to understand this. Accepting and rejecting, generally speaking, is what the path consists of. Accepting and adopting skillful, virtuous actions. Rejecting, abandoning unskillful actions. Negative actions. Accepting, encouraging, adopting the growth of healthy, good mental factors. Rejecting, controlling, eradicating unhealthy, unskillful mental states. So that's generally, that's what the path consists of. Carefully learning, when we say learning, contemplating, meditating, at the heart of it, what are we learning? We're learning about how samsara comes about and how nirvana comes about. How is it that we are in samsara? Because of these mental defilements. Mental defilements that then translate into negative actions of body, speech, and mind. So learning how to recognize what they are, not mistaking what their causes are, then contemplating and considering again and again how certain ways of behaving, certain habits, certain patterns that we continuously feed is where we keep reproducing, we keep recycling confusion and suffering. So clearly knowing what to accept and what to reject is what the practice is what the path is, right? So then here comes statements like neither accept nor reject, beyond accepting and rejecting. Again, such phrases are found in Vajrayana material, in Mahamudra, in Dzogchen, It's the equivalent of a statement like beyond good and evil. I'm sure, you have come across statements like this, beyond good and evil. So there was a lot of confusion, and there is still a lot of confusion as to what Mahamudra means when it says, when you come across things like this, beyond good and evil. including, right, the idea that, oh, karma doesn't make sense anymore, doesn't apply anymore when you are Buddha. And likewise, adopting and rejecting. So here, Jigten Sumgon maintains that this conduct that is said to be free from adopting and rejecting, what is this? This is none other than disciplined conduct. So for some of you, maybe you're like, oh, boring. You mean it means I just have to keep my vows and keep my precepts? Yes. And so are we saying like it's the same as when you first started? No, actually. This, the conduct that is free from accepting and rejecting, superficially, it is still the keeping of the precepts, keeping of the vows, not violating the vows, not breaking the vows, not committing the downfalls. Yes, on the outside, superficially, it all looks like that. But when you actually reach the level of being able to abide by the conduct of neither accepting nor rejecting in an authentic way, on the outside, it looks like, yes, you're keeping your vows, you're not creating any downfalls, but your inner state comes from a very different place. Meaning you are no longer, having to think, oh, can I do this? Oh, I should not do that. This is the meaning of having gone beyond accepting, rejecting. Meaning you don't have to, struggle anymore. And how can you arrive at a place where you don't struggle anymore with, unskillful actions, habits of suffering? I don't want to do. Habits of happiness. Oh, I need to work on it. I need to keep working on it. I don't want to wash my dishes. I don't want to do my prostrations. I don't feel like showering. All those, no more. When you see things that you really like, you don't need to go, hey, watch your grasping mind. That is beyond accepting and rejecting. Now your disciplined conduct has become, you could say, second nature. So it's no longer a discipline. It's just how you are, So let me look at Professor Zobish's book and his translation. It's very impressive to carry around, before your hands are not strong enough to carry a big book. Maybe now, you can train by, lifting a big book. 611, so here it gives the opposing, the reason why Kyobpa said this statement. People claim that the view is dharmata, emptiness, and mahamudra, and the conduct is freedom from accepting virtue and rejecting evil. And so even more specifically, people are saying, if you have the view of the dharmata, meaning the nature of reality, meaning you understood emptiness completely now, you have achieved Mahamudra, then your conduct on the level of how you carry yourself, how you interact with the world, how you conduct yourself, now you are free from the need to accept or adopt virtue and reject non-virtue and evil. There were people saying even that very explicitly. So then, because people were saying that, because some of his disciples probably heard somewhere, said something like that, even though in Kyobpa's day, people don't have access to so much information like now. Now we have access to so much information, this book to read, that book to read, this web page to look at, that web page to look at, this meme to look at, that meme to look at, so we're constantly downloading information, and somewhere, I'm sure we have read before, or we have even been taught that, in the state of Buddha, in the state of Nirvana, no need good, no need evil. First of all, I personally, I would say, why do we need to talk about when in the state of Nirvana? More fruitful to talk about when not in the state of samsara. Can you see the difference? Yeah? To think in terms of when not in samsara, rather than when in nirvana. Why? Because samsara, we have a reference point. We know what it is. Nirvana, we have no reference point except for in relation to samsara. So we should be more concerned about when in samsara, what causes suffering, what causes happiness. Accepting the causes of happiness, rejecting the causes of suffering is really important. But how you go about doing that, that will change, is what this statement is saying. Initially, it will feel forced. Then after some years, some experience, it feels more normal, but still you struggle. And then less struggle, then some struggle come back. Every stage, it's not the case that, don't think that, you'll get better. No, every stage of your growth, there will be different challenges that will come up or come back, So that's why sometimes you feel, I'm doing well. Suddenly not well again. It doesn't mean you have fallen all the way back. It just means with the next level of purification, of clearing, of confusion, certain other, right? Negative karma from the past, certain other ways this klesha comes up, then you are facing another challenge. Then purify, overcome that. Next, and you grow. You evolve in that way. So then, coming back here, 11, Kyobpa says, according to Zovish's translation, the conduct that is without accepting and abandoning is the precious disciplined conduct. So Shila, basically. So Shila that the Buddha gave, that is the conduct that is without accepting or abandoning. Dharmakirti's commentary says, the real meaning, he says, of not accepting or rejecting is to purify completely attachment and aversion. So this is very helpful, right? To purify attachment and aversion. Because right now, we are accepting what we are attached to. We are rejecting what we are adverse to. So to be free from accepting and rejecting is to be free from attachment and aversion. Now let's look at Khenpo Kunpal's commentary. Furthermore, concerning the conduct of these yogis here means, those who practice the path. Yogis here, it doesn't mean those people with long hair, wearing certain robes. Here, yogis, Nyaugjorpa, means serious practitioners. Furthermore, concerning the conduct of these yogis, others say that since the view is like space, meaning beyond virtue and non-virtue, beyond causes and results, therefore the conduct also does not have adopting virtue and abandoning non-virtue. One should be like a butcher without distinguishing virtue and non-virtue, like a dog or a pig without distinguishing clean and dirty, like a crazy person without aims, like a small child without shame, or like a lion without fear. They say that there is no virtue and non-virtue, and quote the Doha Vajra songs of realizations. So quoting even Saraha, So for example, Saraha says, look at the conduct of small children and outcasts. Eat meat, go wherever you want like a madman. Be like a lion, free from fear. Look how the bee moves to the flower. Just go, wherever there are flowers, wherever there are sweet things, go for it. So it's not that, the Mahasiddhas don't have songs that seem to say, do whatever you like. Because you have the view. You have realized emptiness. Karma can no longer harm you. Do whatever you like, But these songs, first of all, these songs, right? They were not, meant for public circulation and public consumption. At one time, they were kept secretly. Kept secretly not because, you're so advanced now you can do not naughty things. You're so advanced now you can behave recklessly. Secret because there are deeper meanings to statements like this. They should not be just put out there, causing misunderstandings, causing people to act in ways that will create suffering for them. So anyway, Khenpo Kunpal continues, there are many who talk like that and behave likewise. However, here it is taught that since we have been habituated to attachment and aversion since beginningless time, we are wandering in samsara and therefore must abandon these two, attachment and aversion. Thus, people dislike and reject the virtues that are difficult to practice, such as precious disciplined conduct, that is the source of all benefit and happiness, and they desire and readily adopt the non-virtues that are difficult to abandon, that is addictive, engaging wildly in the 5 objects of the sense pleasures, continuously, just wanting to see nice things, smell nice things, taste nice things. If they're doing that, how could it be a conduct that is free from adopting and rejecting? In fact, it is not, right? In fact, they are chasing after that which they like and running away from that which they don't like. These kinds of conduct, supposedly free from adopting and rejecting, are actually the conduct of attachment and aversion, and are the cause of the lower realms. Therefore, one should not do them. So, for example, like in the ritual setting, you have like Ganachakra offering, right? I think most of you have heard of this Ganachakra offering, talk offering, right? In the ritual setting. So then, in the instructions, sometimes you come across it says, gather meat and alcohol for Ganachakra. So sometimes you can still see, maybe not so much these days. These days, people are starting to understand, and then other people will criticize. But sometimes you can still see, like in Tibetan Buddhist rituals, bottles and bottles of wine and alcohol and XO and cognac, red wine, white wine, bottles and bottles, they line up, or they call this Ganachakra offering, These days, I think people are a little shy to show piles of meat. But when, 20, 30 years ago, I've gone to Ganachakra where, piles of meat. So they say meat and alcohol, because they say, what the Tantra says this, Then it says, now why we need this? Because we have to practice to be beyond accepting and rejecting. But in the Tantras, when it says gather meat and gather alcohol, it's talking about gathering meat that nobody wants to eat. Impure meats. Meat of like animals who have died of uncertain causes. It's not gathering meat, go to the butcher and say, give me your best cut, organic, it's not that kind of meat. Grass-fed, organic, best cut beef, please. Give me 10 pounds next week. I need to practice going beyond attachment or aversion. Then, people go to the big sponsors, Can you sponsor 5 bottles of, best champagne? We are practicing Ganachakra for going beyond attachment and aversion. No, the Tantras, what they're talking about is going around looking, even it says, go around, look for these flesh of rotting flesh. Such even in the cemetery. That means, you could accidentally end up like using human flesh. It's talking about using flesh that normally, when you look, you're so repulsed. And then when they say alcohol, what they mean is, yes, alcohol that you desire, right? And then you mix in things that you don't desire. Like maybe blood, unclean things mix into the alcohol. Now, this rotting meat and this alcohol. Yeah, even back then, people like alcohol, like meat, but you purposely find alcohol and meat that people don't want. Then that is true offering of meat and alcohol in the Gana Chakra. Beyond accepting and rejecting. And this is all, right? The real purpose of this, the real training is so that in our day-to-day lives, right? Without drama, without sensation, whatever turns up that we don't like, we don't reject. Whatever turns up that we like, we don't chase. That is the practical application of this. Are we going to do it? No, boring. We want sensationalized things. We want those exaggerations. So here, these kinds of conduct supposedly free from adopting and rejecting are actually the conduct of attachment and aversion, and they are the cause of the lower realms. Therefore, one should not do them. Jigten Sumgon maintains that the conduct that is free from adopting and rejecting, this, in our tradition, the excellent practice lineage, this is referring to the precious discipline conduct, the training in restraint and practice. Thus, do not engage in distorted manners that contradict the three vows due to attachment and aversion, which are the causes of suffering in this and all future lifetimes. Do not abandon the discipline of the three vows, which is the path to the higher realms and liberation, and do not adopt or reject any food, clothes, enjoyments, enemies, or friends through attachment and aversion. Cultivating equanimity. Equanimity doesn't mean, you have lost the ability to tell, this is salt, this is sugar. That is not equanimity. That is losing sense of losing your taste, which will come, if you live old enough. No need to worry, No need to cultivate that. Equanimity is not like that. Equanimity is, you can tell, this is salty, this is sweet. But no fuss. No fuss. Yeah. If you get your bubble tea, you drink, oh, why is this salty? No fuss. You don't go completely crazy, like, this is wrong, this is, or your horchata, why is it salty, No problem. Yeah. Pipian, why is it sweet, Then get all upset. No. Equanimity means, you don't get disturbed so easily. It's easy, especially when our mood is not so good due to other reasons. And then little things, will set us off. Yes. Yeah, so I've got to watch against that. It is said in the Vajra, whatever you get in terms of food and likewise drinks, you should eat it completely, because liking and disliking are concepts, do not have any clinging. This also, refers to like in the old days, and today some monastics still do this, whatever you give, they eat. They don't. I cannot eat this. I can only eat that. But even in there, in the monastic training, it is said there are certain things you can say no. For example, in the monastic vows, actually, it doesn't say you cannot eat meat. Neither does it say you have to eat meat. But it doesn't say you cannot eat meat. But it does say, if you know, this person specifically slaughtered this animal for you, then you if the person gives it to you, you can say, no, actually, I'm not allowed to accept this offering. This is to discourage causing others to create negativity on your behalf. So you then you're allowed to say no. You can reject. Moreover, the great Brahmin said, look how the bee moves to the flower. This is Saraha. Yeah? The victorious one, savior of all, said in the ritual text for mending and purification, like the bee sucks up the nectar from the flowers without harming their color and fragrance, and thereafter flies away, in the same way, the Buddha's disciples should go to town. So this is talking about Buddha's, how the Buddha lays out, the ideal monastic life, is that monastics should live not in town. Monastics should live slightly outside of town. And also not so far from outside of town. Why? So that they can go to town. They go to town like bees going to the flowers. When bees go to flowers to collect nectar, they don't harm the flowers. The flowers are happy for them to come. In fact, flowers are happy because then the bees pick up pollination, to go pollinate other flowers, and produce fruits. So to say, the flowers are happy. Likewise, the ideal is for practitioners, serious practitioners, to not live, in the midst of where a lot of busyness and distractions are going on, and to live outside, but not so outside until you are, completely secluded. That's the ideal, generally speaking. And then different people at different points in their training have different needs. So that the Buddha also has advice for that. Likewise, the supreme conduct, free from adopting and rejecting, is said to be to use something and then move on without attachment and aversion caused by self-grasping. So it's also describing, an attitude, a way of relating to. So to use something and then move on. Of course, this is not saying use something and move on. Oh, use like alcohol, move on. It's not talking about that, okay? Oh, use, addictive drugs and then move on, use narcotics, and then move on. It's not talking about that. It's talking about even the things that are permissible, like food and nourishment, clothing to protect our body from harm, from extreme weather. With regards to those things, be like a bee. Just take and move on. Don't let that become the basis for self-grasping. In summary, one should not fall under the sway of obstructing views and bad, pointless talk, but no matter how high one's view is, it is necessary to have a conduct that is precise regarding cause and result, and does not separate view and conduct. So view and conduct needs to be in perfect harmony. Also, view and conduct evolves. So it's partly also saying, your specific conduct need to be in harmony with your specific view at that particular level. As you evolve, as you become more and more advanced, then these two, right, should evolve accordingly. A conduct devoid of the view or a view devoid of conduct, these two are transgressions of secret mantra pledges and lead to rebirth as a hell being in the realm of ceaseless torment. Quoting a tantra saying, your view and your conduct have to match. It's as simple as saying, like walk the talk. Although view is not about talking, but it's essentially, you could say, that's what it's saying, be consistent. Don't mouth out, I have no more attachment and aversion, or think you don't have attachment and aversion. But clearly in your conduct, attachment and aversion is the guiding principle. Or in your conduct, no attachment and aversion, but it is not based on the right view. Like, I have no accepting or rejecting. Why? Because karma is nonsense. Then it becomes a serious hindrance, serious obstacle. Good. Okay. Let's do dedication. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara, and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers. And may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstructors who harm those who create obstacles, Maras who mislead, and their Mara retinues, have happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, and precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I come under the care of virtuous spiritual friends, and having become as limitless as space, may I achieve the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Okay, you'll have a good weekend. Then we meet again on Monday. And as I said, on Monday, every Monday, we will do the Achi Sang. And then the rest of the week, we will do this confession of Bodhisattva's downfalls. Okay, bye-bye.